Kayeru, who is sleeping, suddenly wakes up from a recurring dream. At that moment, Anna, who took care of him, arrives. She had raised him, and it's revealed that Kyaru's dream involves him and other heroes fighting and defeating the Demon Lord. Anna recalls how, when he was little, Kayeru had always dreamed of becoming a hero and saving the entire village. Kayeru tells her that he is aware of his current limitations. Anna motivates him, reminding him that his birthday is approaching, which means he will become an adult and receive a class, possibly a magician, or even a hero. Kayeru responds that if that happens, he could repay her. Hearing this, Anna gets happy. Later, Kayeru goes to pick some fruit, but suddenly, he gets a vision where a serpent turns into a strange stone. A voice in his head tells him to obtain the sight of spirit. As if hypnotized, Kayeru walks into the dense forest. That night, he reaches a lake where a spirit, known as the Star Spirit, emerges. It asks Kayeru for his desire, and Kayeru wishes to obtain the sight of spirit, which allows him to see everything. The Star Spirit agrees and kisses Kayeru on his right eye, making it glow. This allows Kayeru to see the stats of spirits. When he sees his reflection in the water, memories flood back, showing the past when 4 heroes were fighting the Demon Lord. The first hero, using a gun-like weapon, was firing at the Demon Lord, but the Demon Lord dodged every attack. The second hero, named Flare, cast a powerful magic that created a fireball in the sky, which struck the Demon Lord, but the Demon Lord blocked it with a shield. The third hero, a swordsman, attacked directly, but the Demon Lord summoned shadows to stop him. The Demon Lord then said she would show them the power of the Demon King, and darkness covered the fireball in the sky, launching an attack that defeated the 3 heroes. Only the last hero, a healer, remained. He healed himself and started healing the others. Meanwhile, Flare got angry, telling Kayeru to heal everyone, while Kayeru calmly explained that whenever he healed someone, he had to experience their pain and suffering, which was overwhelming for him. Kayeru often tried to run away to avoid using his healing powers, but the others always dragged him back, and they even made him addicted to drugs. Through his visions, it was revealed that Flare was responsible for this. The others also mistreated him, and Kayeru questioned why he should heal such trash. He also revealed that a year ago, he gained resistance to drugs and would now be the one to defeat the Demon Lord. Kayeru dodged all the shadows and used his healing power to eliminate some of them. He absorbed the experiences of everyone he had healed, allowing him to use their techniques. Despite the damage he received from the Demon Lord's attacks, he healed himself and prepared to attack the Demon Lord. Before he could, the Demon Lord, crying, admitted that she couldn't protect her people. Kayeru assured her that everything would be fine and that the end was near. As soon as the Demon Lord was defeated, the stone, which had previously appeared, and Kayeru was delighted. However, Flare suddenly began clapping, praising Kayeru as the hero of recovery, and said that the king would be very happy with his growth. Flare then surprised Kayeru by revealing that she had fully healed and had an extra elixir. She also mentioned that the Demon King had cursed the stone, making it dangerous. Kayeru, however, mentioned its origin, and Flare realized he knew their plans. Kayeru accused them of wanting to use the stone to amplify their magical abilities to godlike levels and dominate the world. Hearing this, Flare grew tense, preparing for a fight. But Kayeru revealed he would travel back in time to fix everything and not be bound by any memories. Flare warned that he would lose all his memories if he did so, but Kayeru, determined, said that the pain he had endured would remain, and he would take everything from them in the next life. He then used the stone, resetting time and restoring his memories. The Star Spirit disappeared, and Kayeru began his revenge journey. After some days, Flare, accompanied by soldiers, came to the village looking for Kayeru, who was about to become their hero and help defeat the Demon Lord. The villagers were amazed, and Anna congratulated Kayeru for becoming a hero. It was then revealed that Flare was the second princess of the kingdom. Kayeru, now marked as a hero, headed to meet the king, and along the way, he used his spirit sight to check the stats of everyone around him, including Flare. When they entered the royal center, all eyes were on them, and Flare told Kayeru how proud she was of him, as their kingdom was peaceful. However, Kayeru, unimpressed, believed the kingdom was filthy and built on the land of demi-humans who were enslaved by the kingdom's people. Kayeru then presented himself to the king, and upon checking the king's stats, he realized the king was no less than a monster. The king was also aware of Kayeru's healing abilities and offered him the title of Hero of Recovery. He was also asked him to heal a sword saint who had lost her right arm in battle with a high-ranking demon. Kayeru agreed, and as he healed her, he experienced her pain and fell unconscious. Seeing this, the priest prevented anyone from touching him and assured the princess that Kyaru's abilities were godlike, as he had even regenerated a severed limb. Flare, skeptical, suggested using him for their advantage, possibly drugging him or brainwashing him, so he could serve on the battlefield. The priest agreed to further investigate Kyaru's abilities, while Kyaru, still conscious, was pleased that Flare hadn't changed. He was now sure that he would get his revenge and would no longer hold back. Flare left, but Kyaru smiled, knowing that his journey had only just begun. We are shown that Kyaru was acting in front of Flare and Priest as if he had gone through a lot of trauma after using his ability, and after today, he will never use his ability again. If he does, he will destroy himself or lose himself. After hearing this, Flare goes up to him and holds his hand, showing a lot of sympathy, and tells him how helping people is a good thing. The more people he heals, the more people he will be able to help, saving many lives. So it's a noble task, and he should do it. However, Kyaru directly refuses, and after hearing this, Flare speaks calmly, saying that if he doesn't want to do it, she won't force him. After saying this, she leaves with the priest. Once they leave, Kyaru starts thinking about how his life has been going on just like his past life. On the other hand, we see Flare cleaning her hands, and Kyaru, speaking to himself, says that last time, he didn't know how trashy she was, and this time he wouldn't fall for her smile. Then Kyaru is given a drink by a maid, which was sent by Flare. Hearing this, Kyaru acts very happy, as he knows what is about to happen. As soon as he drinks it, he becomes unconscious. The scene cuts, and we are shown that Kyaru is currently locked up in a basement, where a man is torturing him, saying that he had hurt Princess Flare by rejecting her. Meanwhile, Kyaru is counting every hit from the guard because he doesn't like to owe anyone and needs to repay them. Then the priest comes in and tells the guard to be gentler because their test subject might get into a worse condition. The priest then puts drugs in Kyaru's mouth, causing him to lose consciousness. Next, we see Flare finally visiting Kyaru after several days. First, she insults him thoroughly and makes him beg for drugs. During this, she even breaks his eggs and tortures him in an even worse manner. After all the humiliation, she leaves. As time passes, Kyaru continues healing people and copying their abilities, one of which is particularly impressive, like turning stones into gold. Time passes like this, and Kyaru reflects that if he didn't have the drug tolerance ability, his situation would have been even worse. One day, Kyaru becomes a little aggressive in front of Flare, causing her to smash a bottle on his head in anger and leave. On the other side, Kyaru becomes furious, saying that she is his target, and he will take revenge on her. Flare can feel all this but doesn't pay too much attention. Later, Kyaru checks his stats and realizes that he has become much stronger than before. A few months go by, and Kyaru hears that the king is in a nearby kingdom. He finally gets a chance for revenge. The scene shifts, and we see an investigation underway in the palace because Kyaru had killed some guards and escaped. On the other hand, Flare is somewhat concerned, but then suddenly, a guard named Renald catches him and drags him in. Renald is the one who had tortured Kyaru earlier. Kyaru tries to say something, but no sound comes from his mouth. Renald slams his face into the ground. Princess Flare is pleased with Renald's work, and Renald tells her that when they were capturing Kyaru, he had said something very important that should remain a secret, which is why she calls him into her room. When they enter the room with two guards, Renald kills both of them in an instant. Flare is shocked, and she tries to activate her magic, but Renald immediately captures her and absorbs her magic. Flare starts asking why he is doing all this, and then Renald reveals his face, which turns out to be Kyaru. Kyaru, mocking her, starts calling himself the same derogatory names she had used for him. He then tells her that he is here to play with her. Flare is shocked to hear this because the man who had brought her here was Renald. However, Kyaru confirms that while Renald had brought her here, the body is now his, as he took it after 208 hits. He then tells her how he plans to repay the torture she put him through. Flare acts innocently, saying that the drugs she gave him were to prevent him from feeling pain, but Kyaru sarcastically comments on everything she did to him. Flare asks if he remembers all of it, and Kyaru says he remembers everything, which is why he came to take revenge. Flare is scared, but Kyaru wants to play a game. He says if she keep quiet for 10 seconds, he will let her go as he will keep breaking her fingers. Flare stays silent while Kyaru breaks all her fingers one by one. She never screamed, but by the end, Kyaru healed all broken fingers and started breaking them again, which made Flare scream in pain. Kyaru mocks her for being stubborn and breaks the last of her fingers. Flare screams in pain. Kyaru tells her that she almost won, but if she had lasted a little longer, she would have won. After taking his revenge, Kayeru changed her face and erased her memories. The next morning, word spreads throughout the kingdom that Princess Flare has died in a fire. Meanwhile, Kayeru reveals that he had switched the body of a guard with flares. This is how he created the illusion of her death. He also says that his revenge on her is complete, but two people, Bullet and Blade, still remain. They haven't treated him in a special way either, but more importantly, he wants to meet the Demon King and learn what she was trying to protect. Then, Flare wakes up and asks where she is and what happened. Kayeru speaks to her in a friendly manner, telling her that her name is Freya. However, since it sounds bad, he prefers to call her Flare and asks her to adjust. He also tells her that they are lovers, and because she had a high fever, she lost her memories. Kayeru manipulates her memories slightly. Then he asks Flare to beg for the bat and ball again, as she used to beg for it. She does so, and Kayeru hopes her memories will trigger slightly. Flare then feels that Kayeru is very close to her. In this messed up situation, she asks Kayeru for his name. Kayeru changes his name and introduces himself as Kiarga. After a while, Kayeru explained Flare that they are about to leave the royal capital, but as they were leaving, they come across some wanted posters in the market. Surprisingly, the posters are of none other than Renald. While they're talking, they overhear a conversation about how Norn, Flare's younger sister, will soon be returning to Kingdom. This information makes Flare very anxious, even though she doesn't know who Norn is yet. On the other hand, Kayeru gets tense because he knows just how dangerous Norn is. He even wishes to avoid encountering her in this life, as Norn had been the only one in his past life who knew he had resistance to drugs. Because of this, without wasting any time, they leave the capital. The scene cuts, and we get a flashback to when Flare and the other heroes were training. They praise each other for their abilities. However, Kayeru was still demanding drugs, which causes Flare to angrily yell at him. During this time, we learn that the hero of the gun, Bullet, often takes Kayeru's side and spoils him a lot, making him the target of the other heroes' criticisms. Then we see a night scene where Kayeru begs Flare for drugs, and she pours it on him, covering his body with them. She even kicks him, but this wasn't enough for Flare, who also had Kayeru clean his sword. After torturing him and laughing at his condition for a long time, she finally lets him go, but Kayeru is in a terrible state. As soon as Kayeru exits the tent, he's spotted by none other than the sword hero, Blade, who is a huge fan of Flare. She hates Kayeru because he always touches Flare, so she takes Kayeru to a corner and beats him up brutally. Afterward, Kayeru is left in an even worse condition in his tent, where he finds a bed decorated with flowers and a gift from gun hero Bullet. The scene plays out where Bullet is both hurting and apologizing to Kayeru. Eventually, Bullet confesses to Kayeru how much he likes him. The scene cuts again, and Kayeru wakes up from what he realizes is a nightmare. Flare asks him why he screamed in his sleep. Kayeru becomes distressed when he sees her and does something that doesn't need to be explained. Later, as he washes his face, he reflects on how his past memories continue to haunt him. He then notices some trees with flowers and begins to think about Bullet and Blade. He decides that he will take revenge on both of them as they had tortured him. A few days after leaving the royal capital, they finally reach La Narita, a completely free city, which sounds great at first, but isn't. Here, crime and illegal businesses happen openly. The conditions of the people are extremely poor. They go to a place to eat, and Kayeru stops Flare from drinking water, telling her that it's poisoned. He explains that the town's water source has become contaminated due to monsters. Flare asks if the food is also poisoned, but Kayeru assures her that the poison is weak, and if they heat the water, the poison will be neutralized. If the people continue to drink it, however, their bodies will deteriorate in 2 months. Flare becomes very concerned when she sees people coughing around them. Kayeru explains that within a week, everyone in the city will become affected by the poison. Flare is startled, and Kayeru tells her that he's only thinking about saving the people of the city. Later, Kayeru drinks some of the poisoned water himself, and Flare is extremely worried. However, Kayeru reassures her that he did it to create an antidote. His body can naturally produce antibiotics, and they plan to multiply it. Afterward, as they walk through the city, Flare praises Kayeru for becoming a hero. Kayeru refuses the title, saying he doesn't want to be a hero. They see a merchant, who Kayeru thinks will be a good target for their plans. The merchant is initially skeptical about the poison and antidote, but after his assistant tests it and feels better, the merchant agrees. He buys the antidote recipe, and Kayeru negotiates that the price will be 1 gold coin per dose. Kayeru wants 50% profit, and the merchant agrees that Kayeru can set the price next time. Flare suggests that selling the antidote directly would bring them more profit, but Kayeru explains that they don't have much time, and it would be better to let a real merchant handle it. Kayeru then expresses interest in buying a slave, which surprises Flare. She argues that it's wrong to take someone's freedom, but Kayeru insists that they need a slave for their journey because an adventurer wouldn't be willing to perform the same tasks. He believes a slave will be more useful in difficult circumstances. The merchant leads them to a selection of slaves, and Kayeru uses his spiritual energy to examine them. None of the slaves seem special until he finds one, an Ice Wolf clan girl. The merchant says she's not particularly strong and won't recover from her injuries, but Kayeru decides to buy her. He believes she's just like him, full of hope but slowly drowning. He offers to help her get revenge on those who hurt her. Just then, the scene shifts, the royal capital's priest checking Kyaru's body and realizing that Kayeru is not the hero of recovery but Renald, the royal guard. Later, Kayeru buys the Ice Wolf clan girl, despite the merchant's protests that she's not worth much. Flare is concerned because Kayeru removed her collar, but Kayeru explains that without it, the girl will trust him and obey his commands. He heals her, and as he does, the girl's memories return. She recalls her past, how her clan was attacked by humans, and she fought only to be defeated easily. The leader of her clan, Setsuna, was captured and sold. Kayeru tells Flare that Setsuna wants revenge on the humans, and when she sees the royal soldiers who hurt her people, she decides she will exact revenge on them. She joins them, and as Setsuna recovers, at the royal capital, where soldiers are talking to each other about how many of their troops have been captured in Lolita, and how many of them have even died during the battle. According to sources, it's learned that the person who killed them is using Saint Kureha's techniques. On the other side, Kureha is overhearing all of this. Then, the scene shifts, and we see Kayeru relaxing with Flare and Setsuna, and we all know what happens next. The scene cuts, and we see them in Lolita, where Setsuna expresses that she doesn't like the place. Kayeru tells her that this will be their last day there, after which they will leave. They have removed the poison from the water here, so the people will recover soon, and their potion business will soon be ruined. Just then, a man, after looking at Setsuna, starts talking about how he wants to buy the girl from the Ice Wolf clan for a gold coin, saying he would take good care of her. Kayeru laughs and tells him that a gold coin is not enough, and at least 1,000 should have been brought. This angers the man, and he threatens to attack Kayeru. But Setsuna immediately grabs him, and Kayeru praises her. Then, Kayeru uses his healing ability to check the man's memories and learns that he is one of the 19 people who attacked the Ice Wolf clan, but managed to escape. Once Kayeru is done, Setsuna, in anger, kills the man. Then, the scene shows them at the merchant's place, where they are about to make their final business deal for the day. The merchant isn't happy, so he brings many people to surround them. The merchant's only demand is the potion recipe. Kayeru, however, doesn't care about this and starts calling the merchant by his real name. The merchant, upon hearing this, becomes anxious. Kayeru continues, saying he knows the merchant has no involvement because his partners are far more powerful and wealthy. The merchant begins to prepare for a fight, but Setsuna and Flare say they are also ready to fight. Kayeru, however, tells them to calm down. Kayeru then tells the merchant that he's making a huge mistake, as these two are just tools to him, and if he has to sacrifice them, he will do so without hesitation. However, he will kill everyone. The merchant doesn't believe it, but Kayeru challenges him to try. Then, Kayeru says that he can't let his valuable tools be ruined so easily, so he's willing to sell the recipe for just 500 gold. The merchant agrees joyfully, and after the exchange, they leave. Flare and Setsuna feel bad, as Kayeru had to sell the recipe because of their weakness, but Kayeru reassures them, telling them that they still won because the village's water source has been fixed and the potion will soon become useless. Moreover, he didn't tell them about the antibiotics that could only be made from his body for that potion. Just then, someone suddenly attacks them, but Kayeru blocks the attack, and it turns out to be Kureha. Kayeru is surprised, and Kureha is equally surprised to see Kayeru block her attack. Kureha asks Kayeru about his sword style, which is unique to her family. Kayeru responds that she may have misunderstood and is attacking the wrong person. Kureha says that he is the one who killed the Royal Kingdom soldiers, and for that he must die. He attacked the Wolf clan, and those soldiers trying to protect them were also killed. Kureha accuses him of humiliating her using her family's sword style. At that moment, Setsuna reveals she is also a member of the Ice Wolf clan, and the royal army attacked them. Kayeru helped them, and Flare supports Setsuna. Kureha calls Setsuna and Flare brainwashed, and tells Kayeru that he must die. Kya, however, respects Kureha and says she's beautiful and strong, but asks if she is sure she wants to be his enemy. Kureha says yes, and then Flare attacks her with a fireball. But Kureha cuts through the fireball with her sword and knocks Flare unconscious. Seeing this, Kyaru gets angry because Kureha damaged his property, and their fight begins. Kureha continues to attack Kyaru, but Kyaru blocks all her attacks. When Kyaru finally gets a chance, he disarms Kureha, but she doesn't stop. Using her palm, she sends Kyaru crashing into the wall, causing the wall to collapse. However, this has no effect on Kyaru as he heals himself. Kureha switches swords and attacks again, but Kyaru dodges and throws knives at her, also throwing a potion, which lands on her shoulder while Kureha evades the knives. Kureha continues to fight, but Kyaru taunts her, saying her body is slowly heating up. Kureha struggles to move properly due to the heat. Kyaru taunts her more, but Kureha, injuring herself, recovers and attacks again. Kyaru catches her face and uses his healing ability on her. He shows her everything that happened to the Wolf Clan members, and Kureha falls to the ground in shock. Kyaru explains that the Blade Kingdom protecting them has now broken into two parts. Later, Kureha is sleeping, and Setsuna praises her strength. Kyaru reassures them, telling Setsuna that she has the potential to defeat both him and Kureha. They apologize to Kyaru for being powerless, but Kyaru encourages them and thanks them for supporting him. Kureha wakes up and asks Kyaru what happened, and Kyaru explains that he only showed her the truth. Kureha doesn't believe him, saying her kingdom operates like a sword and shield, protecting people. Kyaru responds that the kingdom does this for humanity, not for demons, and points out that demi-humans are slaves. He suggests she should return to the royal capital and search for answers herself. Kureha, confused, asks if Kyaru is leaving her, but Kyaru replies that he respects her greatly and dislikes how the kingdom has betrayed her. He reveals his old face, surprising Kureha, and tells her that he's the hero of recovery, a title she never knew about. Kureha is shocked to see him, especially since Kyaru is blamed for killing Flare. Just then, Flare reappears with her old face and explains how she learned about the kingdom's dark side and tried to expose it. They fake their deaths and save the Ice Wolf clan from the royal guards. Flare reassures Kureha not to worry about the past but to focus on her future. Kyaru reflects on how well Flare acted. Kureha then tells Kyaru she will help him. Kyaru has no problem with that, and as they are about to kiss, Setsuna and Flare are shocked. The scene cuts, and we see Kyaru using the potion again. Meanwhile, Setsuna and Flare overhear everything outside. The scene shifts, showing Renald, who is after revenge. Here, Setsuna and Flare feel awkward about Kureha sticking so close to Kyaru, making them feel like a couple. Renald's soldiers announce that the hero of recovery has killed Princess Flare and set the castle on fire. Renald plans to reward anyone who gives valuable information about Kyaru. Meanwhile, Kyaru, frustrated with the situation, says that the kingdom's actions don't sit right with him. He then tells Kureha that he trusts her to gather information about the kingdom and asks her to help. She agrees, and they kiss, leaving Setsuna and Flare in shock. The scene cuts again, showing Renald, who is angry because he couldn't get any information about Kyaru, despite knowing he's in the city. Then, a flashback shows Renald's rage when he found that he was stuck in Kyaru's body. His face was permanently scarred when he pressed a hot rod against it. Presently, he rages about wanting to kill Kyaru, and we see Anna lying beside him in terrible condition. Meanwhile, we see Kyaru talking with Kureha, who was explaining how Renald has taken control of his village in the name of the hero of recovery's mistakes. Kyaru smiles, feeling confident that he will get his revenge soon. Kyaru changes his face into the soldier Setsuna killed and goes to Renald, but it turns out that Renald had done terrible things with Anna, Kyaru's only parent. Angered, Kyaru transforms Renald into a girl, and Renald notices that behind him, there were 4 soldiers who had completely turned mutated. On the other hand, Kyaru starts explaining that you people do such things to others because you don't know their pain, their weaknesses, fear, and sadness. You don't know anything about all these things. Meanwhile, on the other side, Renald had understood what was going to happen, and I guess you all have understood what's going to happen too. Renald was really scared, but on the other side, Kyaru starts laughing. Renald was begging for forgiveness and asking for help. On the other hand, Kyaru starts saying, "How many people have begged you for forgiveness and asked for help?" After that, Kyaru sets fire to the place and leaves. He directly reaches Anna's place. As soon as Anna sees Kyaru, she starts smiling. Meanwhile, Kyaru goes straight to Anna and starts healing her continuously. At that moment, The scene cuts, and we see that Kayeru is really sad because he couldn't save Anna. Then, Setsuna and Flare try to comfort him, and Kayeru tells them that today he is not going to be gentle and their World Cup match starts. Kayeru starts crying. This surprises him because he thought he had no tears left, but a few tears remained, and today he would cry them all out. This would be the last day he would cry, and after that he would continue his revenge. The scene shifts, and we are shown Norn, who finds out that Renald has gone missing. She starts saying, like my useless sister, his useless subordinates are also of no use. During this, we also learn that the plan to capture Kayeru's villagers was Norn's, and she makes another plan for their execution. After hearing this, Kayeru will definitely come forward. The scene cuts, and we see Kureha, who brings all the information. She tells Kayeru how all the villages will be killed in Lism. In the Colosseum, there are fights between monsters and humans that people enjoy watching. There are only 2 gates to enter the Colosseum, made of very heavy metal, and on top of that, there are 2 barriers that can block any magic. After hearing this, Kayeru becomes a bit thoughtful, but then Kureha asks if he will save the people of his village because this would be a suicide mission. Kayeru says that he is scared, but they have to do this to save the country. For these reasons, he and Flare changed their identities. They first attacked the Ice Wolf clan, and now they are attacking his innocent villagers. He doesn't know what else these people will do. His life is worth so much that he can risk it to save them. After hearing Kayeru's heartfelt words, Kureha agrees to help him. However, Kureha also tells him that Norn has returned from abroad, which shocks Kayeru a lot, and Flare also feels chills. After that, Kureha leaves, and Kayeru thinks about how dangerous Norn is. In his past life, when everyone used to get their work done by torturing him and throwing him aside, one day, Nran came to see him. Upon seeing him, Norn said, I had heard that you were completely broken because of drugs, but you look like you've completely changed. My sister and the rest of the people are all fools. Why are you still acting? On the other hand, Kayeru was completely shocked. Then Norn starts telling Kayeru, if you want me to keep your secret and not tell anyone, you have to do everything you did for my sister. After that, Norn also tells Kayeru to keep an eye on Flare. Kayeru tells her everything about the things Flare makes him do. Guess what? After that, Norn also makes Kayeru do those things with her. Meanwhile, Kayeru is thinking that since she hasn't done anything to him until now, should he just kill her because she is a dangerous person who could kill him? The scene shifts to the day of the execution. A huge audience had gathered to watch, and the Colosseum was full. We are shown Kayeru, whose main target was to save his villagers. He finds out that there are about 40 people left, which means the other villagers are already dead. The head of the soldiers calls Kayeru out because if he doesn't come out, all the villagers will die. He starts provoking the audience, mentioning Flare's death. The audience starts cursing Kayeru, and the soldiers point their weapons at the villagers. The head starts justifying to the audience that in order to save all of you and others, we have to kill these people who are evil and devil's children. After this long speech, Kayeru still doesn't come out. The man gives the order for execution, but just before anyone can die, Kayeru appears, and everyone is shocked. That's it for part 1 guys, subscribe for part 2.